Hi, welcome to another episode of Look Ma No Hands. My name is Linda, and this is my program where I talk about all things crochet, books, things I'm watching on TV and in the movies. Occasionally, I'll talk about my artworks with painting and drawing, and I sometimes do a segment that I call Fancy Footwork, where I show how I've adapted different skills to be able to do with my feet since I was born without arms. So this week, I'm continuing to work on my big granny square project that I've been talking about for quite a while now, probably close to 2 months. I knew it was going to take at least that long. I'm excited because I've gotten to a point in the project where I'm starting to stitch the squares together to construct the blanket. So yeah, I was feeling a little bit stressed out about the process of assembling the squares into the big old blanket because I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to be able to lay out the squares in the pattern that I needed, having enough room to kind of lay them out and then hope to not like mess up the layout because the layout is very specific. And yeah, it was kind of plaguing my mind a little bit as to how it was all going to come together, but I've figured out a fairly good system for me to be able to put the squares together. So I'm doing it in 3x3 grids, and I'm doing 9 grids to make the whole blanket. So yeah, it's coming together, and I'm excited to have it completed and present the finished project to you guys. So you'll be seeing that probably in the next episode, maybe sooner, not sure. I haven't really decided how I'm going to present it, but it's definitely going to be in the not too distant future now. So that's what I've been working on. And then what I've been reading this week, I read 3 juvenile fiction books, the first of which is called Click Here to Start by Dennis Markell. It was a really fun book. I really liked this one. If you like mysteries and kind of like adventure type stories, this is definitely one that you're going to enjoy. The premise of the story is the young lead character named Ted is tasked with finding a hidden treasure when his great uncle passes away. His uncle leaves him the apartment and all of its contents in his will when he passes. And when Ted arrives to the apartment is just complete disarray. His parents are like, what an awful thing for Uncle Ted to do to you. Like, this is way more than any 12-year-old should have to deal with. And he's like excited about it. Like, his uncle kind of asked him about his interests, if he was still into video games and things like that, prior to his passing. And he said that the kind of games he liked to play were the premise of like an escape room. So his uncle had everything set up for him. He was excited to find out that that was still what Ted was interested in. And the adventure or the treasure hunt, whatever you want to call it, was designed very much like an escape room. And so Ted and his 2 young friends spend a good portion of their summer trying to find Great Uncle Ted's hidden treasure that was left to him. And in the process, they come across kind of like a bad guy that's also looking for said treasure, and it puts them into a good deal of danger. It was a very exciting book. I really enjoyed this one. I think the target audience for it could get really interested in this, and it's not anything that is something that I would say is more leaning towards boys or girls. I think both boys and girls could get excited about this book. It would be a book that if I was still teaching, I would definitely be interested in using with my students, because there's just so much room for like drawing them in based on kids' current interests with gaming and puzzles and all of that kind of fun stuff. It just has a very much like almost like a Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of feel to it. So yeah, it was a really fun book. And then the second book that I read this week, which I did not realize how attached I was going to become with the characters, like how emotional the book was going to be, but it was, again, another really great story. It's called The Hummingbird by Natalie Lloyd. A little bit of information about the author. Natalie Lloyd is an author with a disability. She has the condition called osteogenesis imperfecta, which is more commonly known as brittle bone disease. And she uses this book kind of almost as a way to create a character that she personally relates to. And even though we don't have the same disability, because the main character of the story is a character with a disability, I immediately felt drawn to that character. The main character's name is Olive, and she's a young girl with OI, and her parents have always tried to really protect her because her condition really puts her at risk for broken bones, and just she's got a lot of health concerns related to that. So they've homeschooled her, and she just feels like she's ready to get out in the world. So she begs her parents to let her enroll in public school. They were hesitant at first, but after kind of thinking it over, they decide to let her enroll in school. And she's super excited because she just can't wait to get out in the world and make friends her own age and just have all of those like middle school experiences. And I just remember being that age and kind of having the same feeling of like being excited about going into middle school and like what all that means. And she can't wait to have her first like real best friend. And it was just a really great story. And part of like the premise of the story is that this town is experiencing like a natural phenomenon of these feathers that are like raining down on the town, almost looking like snow. And the legend is that the last time the feathers came to town in that way, a magical hummingbird came into town that could grant your heart's deepest wish if you were the one that encountered the hummingbird. So now she's excited about trying to find this hummingbird and have her deepest wish granted. She does reveal like what her wish is, and through her relationship with her mom kind of has an inkling as to why she's trying so hard to find the hummingbird, and her mom is hoping that her wish isn't in relation to her disability, but she kind of senses that the girl is passionate about writing and theater and all of these different things, and she thinks that when she enrolls into school, she'll be able to find her niche in the theater, and she's excited about like play practice and tryouts and auditions and all that kind of stuff. But the school, some of the teachers are not as open to receiving a student with a disability and what it means to have to kind of make the accommodations and make the adjustments to fully include her in the program. So that was an interesting little bit to just kind of watch unfold and see some of what I'm assuming is the author's kind of personal experiences coming into play. I thankfully don't have a way to relate to that, in that my experiences when I was in school were all fairly positive. I always felt very included. The teachers were always really cool about trying to make space for me and things like that, but I could definitely see how that student and how that character in the story would feel kind of isolated, and seeing her frustrations in trying to make space for herself. Her classmates and things like that were really great about encouraging her to be a self-advocate and do all of those things that, like, helping her to make sure that she had the space that she needed to feel included. I loved the characters that, the young characters around her that just supported her and were like super cool. It reminded me a lot of many of the classmates I had growing up. So yeah, it was just a really great story. As Olive kind of came to some realizations about herself and started seeing what her strengths were, that's where I got like super emotional. It was like about 80% into the book that I was like sobbing and just like feeling so like proud of this character for working through all of the challenges and just kind of triumphing over, is that a word? Being triumphant? I don't know, whatever. Over the things that she was battling on the inside. It wasn't necessarily even like external obstacles, but just recognizing her strengths and like getting to that space where she was like, I am powerful and I am strong. My bones are fragile, but I am not. I was just like, girl, I feel you. And so just also thinking about the author as an individual that kind of lived some of the experiences or understood more deeply some of the experiences that Olive was having, just made the story much more impactful. And it was, again, like just a really fun story. Olive is like a really lovable character. Her friends are all really lovable characters. Her stepbrother Hatch, you can really see so many sides of it's just a great book. Like if you are looking for just a really good story with characters that are just lovable characters, this is definitely one that I would recommend. I can't say any more good things about this book because I could just keep gushing and gushing, but I will definitely be looking at more of Natalie Lloyd's books to see what she has to offer, because her writing is so good. Like, again, thinking back to me as a teacher and like the kinds of books that I would want to bring to my students, I really think that Natalie Lloyd is an author that my students would be like, wow, this author is so good. Like, I love this author. I have to read more books of hers. So I'll definitely be checking out more. I think she has about a half a dozen or so books. So yeah, that was exciting for me this week. And then the last book I read this week was called We Still Belong by Christine Day. And this is a book about a young middle schooler who is Native American, and her experience with Indigenous Peoples Day. In her community, she's noticing that her school and teachers and things like that are not really recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day, and she wants to be able to celebrate her heritage, and feels kind of staunched by the teachers. And so she's really struggling with like her ethnic identity and things like that. Also, she's struggling because her father is not Native, so her kind of like bloodline or her heritage, because her mom was mixed race and now she's mixed race, her bloodline is like so diluted that she's not even recognized by the tribe as a full member of the tribe. She's not able to register with the council and be able to vote in the council proceedings and things like that. So she's feeling like she's not part of either world. And there's a lot of discussion of like her struggles with identity and things like that, her cultural identity. And I just think that this book did a really good job of like talking about the importance of community and like how we build community and find a space for ourselves. And I guess lately the theme of what I've been reading is about community and all those kinds of things. It's something that I'm very passionate about, something that I've always kind of felt like I haven't really had a place to call my own. And as I'm aging now, I'm finding many spaces where I feel welcome and I feel like I'm part of something, and seeing just how important that is. So reading these books where there are characters that struggle with those same concepts and authors that are so freely speaking about it, it's so great to know that our youth are having access to those kinds of stories, and it can kind of help them with discussions about, how to build your own community and how to find your identity and things like that. So yeah, this was another book that I think was really great. It was a pretty short, quick read. It was 4 hours of listening, so I'm guessing the book is probably like 120, 140 pages. Another book that I would definitely recommend if there's young people in your life, or if you're just looking for a book with really fun, lovable characters, then this one would definitely be it. So, what I'm watching this week, of course, my weekly watch of General Hospital and my gripe of, can we just close the chapter on the Who Shot Drew storyline? Like, it's starting to get really stale. Hopefully it will come to a close here soon. And that's all I have to say about that. We're watching Golden Girls again in the evening just to kind of chill out, relax. It's our little bedtime story. Holiday Baking Championship is rapidly coming to a close. This week will be the final episode of Holiday Baking Championship, so we're excited to see who the champion turns out to be. We're happy with all of the progress that each of the bakers has made and like who is left for the finale, so can't wait for that. We watched The Green Mile this week. It's not the first time I've seen it, but Tim said that's the first time he's seen it. He knows of it, and he's seen like all the memes and stuff that have been published about The Green Mile and like all the iconic lines from The Green Mile. He knew it was a Stephen King story, and after we were done, he's like, yep, that was definitely a Stephen King, like creepy but thought-provoking, and he enjoyed it, and he definitely said that that was a pretty messed up story, but he's like, it's pretty much true to Stephen King form, so not shocking. We've watched a few more episodes of Everwood, and then earlier this week my mom and I went to the movies to see the movie Ella McKay. I hadn't really read up much about what it was about. I just knew that it was going to be like a really good contemporary story. I loved it. It was so good. A lot of family drama in there, and like Ella being a person who's kind of like a leader. She seemed to be somebody that always felt like she needed to be responsible for those around her, and she had like her 5-year plan and she knew what she wanted to do. And yeah, it was a good movie. It was a good story, and I enjoyed it. My mom enjoyed it. We both said that it was something that we really liked watching, and she had already kind of known the premise of the movie, so she said it was what she had expected, and all of the stars in the movie were really well cast for the roles that they played. So if you're looking for, just a fun contemporary film to go watch, this is definitely one that I guess it's just a week for me that I'm like, everything's great, everything's wonderful, I loved everything. I don't know, but I liked this movie, so there's that. We've also been playing our obsession of Boggle on Netflix. Tim is getting really good at it. He the other night beat me like 4 different times, which, whoa. So that was exciting to see how much progress he's made. And my husband Rick has been stepping in and playing with me as well, and he is not quite as versed in it as Tim is yet. he keeps saying, I'm gonna play until I beat you. And I think one time he beat me, but that's out of like 6 or 8 rounds of Boggle. So after a while, he's like, okay, I've been beaten enough. I'm not feeling it anymore. So, but it's exciting that he's shown interest and joined into play. So maybe I'll have to have a little mercy on him here and there. We have been talking about the game, though, when it comes to the pitfalls that you kind of come into when you're playing the game if you're not familiar with it. Just talking about like certain words that you can make in the game, that if you switch the letters up a little bit, you can get like 3 words or 4 words out of one set of just a handful of letters. The little tips that they give in the game of like any words that you can make, if you can make them plural by adding s or es, like make sure you're looking for that. Any words that you can make by adding like the er, the ing, like all of those little things. Like sometimes you forget that you can build words very quickly if you just kind of look for all of those little like suffixes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been a fun brain activity for us. So that's pretty much been our week in a nutshell. If this is your first time here, thanks for stopping by. If you're enjoying my content, maybe consider subscribing. And for the returning subscribers, thank you so much for coming back and listening to my ramblings. I know a lot of you have said you enjoy the book reviews, and I'm working really hard to try and improve my reviews every week. So hopefully my ramblings are less rambly and a little bit more coherent when I talk about the different books that I've been reading. So yeah, I'm definitely going to try and get into a little bit more painting, hopefully try and set things up to do more demonstrations of my crochet. I'm definitely going to be changing up some of the content into the new year and with the next season. The next season starts as the calendar turns, so look forward to a few changes here and there on the channel. And with that, I will see you next time.